AJ, let's talk about it. Why is this not a co-main event? Why is this not the main event? I mean, in all honesty, this has the highest implications because Askar Askarov comes off the first defeat of his career to a Kai Kara France, right? A decision which a lot of us were surprised we both picked Askarov to win, but it's all right because he gets a bounce back fight against a equally tough competitor, man. A dude who actually beat the dude who beat Askarov. So if we're doing MMA math right here, Brandon Royval should be in the driver's seat. However, realistically, man, the way that we're talking about two different fight styles, Askarov is a smothering grappler with some good striking. But Brandon Royval, that's the raw dog, man. This dude is just an enigma. He just moves in ways you shouldn't. He does things that you shouldn't do. He's aggressive. He's flashy. And he believes in his cardio. And that's the question that I want to lead this off with, AJ. If Brandon Royval had 5 rounds, I think that he might be a favorite or this might be even money. Given that it's 3 rounds, Askar Askarov can improve on a couple of things that he kind of, messed up on in the Kara France fight and win this fight. But what are the odds we just see literally that Kai Kara France performance a repeat? You know what I mean? Make Askar grapple you early rounds, gas him out, come like middle of round 2, start escaping, throwing up elbows, throwing up crazy stuff, hitting them, pushing them back, using that cardio and just outwilling them and getting a decision. Like, is that in the cards?
It's well within the limit, Derek. That is very reachable, especially when you know how dexterous that Brandon Royval can be, especially even from the bottom or any position at all. This is going to be throwing up elbows, kicks, submissions left and right like a madman, and that's where I think Askar Askarov can have the most trouble. Get damaged up, get flustered a little bit, but to that point, also I think that's what Askarov is best at, man. Flustering his opponent, making them fight his kind of fight, that grimy, that dirty wrestling kind of fight. This is a very, very interesting one, man. My biggest thing is I'm wondering who's more slighted, who's the UFC more pissed off at, because this could be your main event fight. If this was any other fight card, man, this would be the main event with Askar Askarov versus Brandon Royval. This is a big time fight in the men's 125 pound division, man, and it's crazy that this is third fight from the main event.
Well, if I had to be real about it, man, I think that it's 125 pounders that not a lot of people know about. Askarov is such a monster in this division, but he has very little name value. And Brandon Royval, once again, monster in the division, but has very little name value aside from the people who know what's up. You feel me? Like, you just go to some random, do you see that Brandon Royval fight? They're like, huh? Who are you talking about? You watch him fight, and that's a different story, right? You're like, oh, yeah, that guy. Okay, I remember that. But, okay, so let's talk about it, man, because you're right. I mean, literally, Askarov's strength is also his weakness in a kind of a weird way. But same thing for Royval. His strength of being aggressive, getting clinched up, and then doing a bunch of just guard work and scrambles and omoplata attempts and all that stuff. I mean, okay, this is the best way to put it, and this is what sucks about it, because our analysis doesn't matter. It could just come down to what do the judges want to see that day. Literally, what do they want to see that day? Do they want to see... It's the Bontarine fight, man. Look at it. Bontarine literally just held him down for 2 rounds, but Royval was more active and he won the split decision nod. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. It's really tough to look. Let's just do a hypothetical, though. Let's say Askarov, same type of situation, right? And they're not able to grapple, and this is a striking contest. I mean, Royval is long, bro. I think Royval can give him some problems on the feet just given his length, but he doesn't have that one thing that Kai Kara France had to really keep Askarov at bay. And that one thing is power, right? Because Kai Kara France, he cracks you with a good one. You're like, oh, let me watch my P's and Q's. Royval, he just wants to touch, punt, touch, and then move into something else. So do you think that's going to be, like, if there was one thing that can solidify an Askarov win, would you say it's the lack of power on Royval's side? Or do you think that's not even a factor that's playing into this?
No, I think it's a factor, especially because going into it with the striking level that Askarov presents, you're more worried about the ground game going. So Brandon Royval is a little able to loosen up a little bit more on the hands, which both plays into both of their sides of fighting. Royval with not a lack of power, if you will, because he's not powerful. This boy could put you to sleep anytime. But with not as much power as a Kai Kara France has, Royval's relegated to the pitter patter, the death by 1,000 touches, leading Askarov to be able to have more pressure, more not be concerned about going in on deep on all these shots and all that. So this is a very interesting one, because I don't think it does. I do think it does provide a big sway of whether or not you're going to see Royval having the momentum, having the pressure the entire time, or is Askar going to be able to eat those shots and just keep walking through and have his own pressure?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting back and forth on this one.
It's going to be very interesting, man. Now let's jump into these odds. Minus 240 for Askarov, plus 200 for Royval. I get it. The wrestler, you're going to give him the love. I get it. But this is what I don't get. Plus 250 submission prop for Askarov, plus 500 submission prop for Royval. I can also understand, and I can see Askarov submitting Royval. It's not like it hasn't happened before, right? Like, I can see it. But given that Royval got like 9 submissions on his record and Askarov has 7, like, why is Royval just getting thrown out the window for a submission? Like, I really think a submission can happen, literally, legitimately, with those like weird little sprawls and scrambles that Royval gets himself into, man. You could see him throwing up something crazy. So at the end of the day, man, we just kind of got to talk about it. Which of these prop odds do you like the most?
For
Either fighter,
Askarov, man, it is that 125 decision. I think that just makes the most sense around the bat for Askarov. But I think you're right, Derek. I think those odds for those submissions should be flipped, having Royval at the plus 250, because that makes so much more sense to me, especially, like you said, he's rolling around, he's spinning, he's reaching for things. Next thing you know, your foot's by his armpit. He has your knee literally at his will, or shoulder lock out of nowhere. This dude is crazy talented on the ground, and with more submissions. That's what I like, man. I think you actually might be getting a kind of a not a gimme, not a bonus, but like a big, like a softball layup, basically, in that 500 submission, because it should be something like a 250 where you're winning more money if you bet on Askarov right now. So it might be a gift that the what's it called, the bettors are giving you.
Kind of like a discount, right? Like you kind of buying on discount to a degree. I get what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. Yeah, no, that's fair, man. That's totally fair. So yeah, when it comes down to it, man, it's gonna be interesting the way that this thing plays out. In my heart of hearts, I feel like Royval gets it done, but he gets it done late in the fight. Late in the fight. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say he's going to submit him, man, because we were literally just talking about Askar Askarov. Like, this is the guy, bro. This is the guy. But in any other matchup, I think I would still hold that same sentiment. I'm just very high on Royval based off of some of the skills that he has. So, listen, I got Royval, but I don't think you see it the same way. So how are we getting it done?
Yeah, man, I have Askarov, and I'm actually going with that 125 decision. I think he's just going to be mauling not even a mauling. Maybe we might see a little bit of wet blanket in there as well, but I think it's going to be Askarov Wrestle City all day long, going for the decision. What about you?
Well, listen, I think that all that wrestling, it's going to be that same issue that he had, man. That's why I'm saying halfway through round 2, round 3, that's when Royval, that's his time to shine. Now, whether he gets it done or not, we'll see. But I think that that's going to be the game plan right there. I like Royval, and I'm not going to lie to you, man. That submission prop is calling my name. And as much as I want to say it, I also want to say a decision. But I'm going to go risky. I'm going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to go the submission prop, for Royval, but I'm going to take the over. Over and under is 2.5 rounds. I'm literally talking about the last 2 minutes of the fight, we getting something done. Like, that's how I'm seeing this fight play out. Now, am I Nostradamus? Sometimes. Can be, right? You know what I mean? Both of us can be at times. But we're going to see, man. You can't predict the future. This is just such a fun fight, man. I wish I could spend more time talking about it, but you know what time it is.